Welcome, everyone, to the Ichiban Nonsense Podcast, the only podcast that actually makes its members serve out its suspensions for disobeying its leader. On this week's show, we will be discussing Star Wars. Thanks to the minister, my only co-host right now, my only guest. Mez and Kitty are on suspension, again, for disobeying me. It was coming. It was a long time coming for those two. And I have Minister E. We've cleared the board here. We actually had other stuff on the docket to talk about, but E just hit the trigger button right before we started the podcast and made some egregious claims that I had to change this whole format. And the only topic today is gonna be Star Wars. Now, E, I want you to say exactly what you said right before this podcast started here, and what started this whole thing. What's the claim?
All right, so here's the claim. Due to the light of Episode 9 possibly being the final nail in the coffin of the Star Wars legacy.
And that's what started this whole conversation. You were talking about Episode 9. You said you were watching a video that said, what was it called?
It's called What Happens If Episode 9 Sucks. And it's a video put out by Star Wars Theory.
Okay.
And it kind of brought this whole conversation into play.
Because I said, at this point, there's more Star Wars movie that sucks that are good anyway. And then you made this claim. And go ahead.
So the claim is that the original trilogy of Star Wars was slower paced and more dragged out to the point where there's a lot of boring scenes than the prequels.
How can you quantify that? How? In what way?
By rewatching them, man.
Okay, I told you, I've seen the Star Wars movie almost every year for New Year's. I've seen those, and it always felt like a drag to try to get through the prequels before I can get to the original trilogy, and have stuff actually happened.
Well, so with the exception of Episode 1 in the prequels, the others are much faster paced than the original trilogy. And that goes for all of those movies. So,
okay, in what way? But I want to see, I want to explain how does the original trilogy feel dragged onto you, because there's stuff happening in that thing all the time. There's bounty hunter stuff going on. There's space battles happening constantly. Empire is the freaking gem of the series. Even in Return of the Jedi, there's always things. There's action pieces, set pieces always happening. Like the Battle of Endor happened in Return of the Jedi. So I don't know what you mean.
Here's the thing: if you eliminate Vader from most of those movies or most of those scenes, you lose a lot of the epicness.
But the thing
you had
eliminate Vader because he's in the
villain,
movie,
and that's what kind of pushed it in the direction of good. That's what the others were missing. They did not have the the original Vader, so that gave it a great boom. But everything else going on,
they also didn't have Han Solo, even Leia.
Boring.
They were really freaking charismatic. They had all these people that people still love to this day, like Billy D. Even Luke. People love those characters too. They were charismatic and enthralling. It wasn't just about Vader's story.
Yeah, and the prequels had Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan and Mace Windu and a younger Yoda.
Mace, that's it. Mace is the only thing from those original that he felt like he was him and Palpatine were the only people that were trying, man. I don't know. I don't know what George Lucas was asking everybody, but Qui-Gon Jinn, Liam Neeson was fine. He's a fine actor. He's a great actor and stuff like that. But Qui-Gon Jinn was nothing really crazy. You know what I'm saying? In Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor did a fine job as well. But in the prequels, maybe not until maybe Episode 3, he was just kind of bland, dude. And come on, Anakin and Padme, despite what their real life actor credentials are, in the movie there was no chemistry. They were wooden actor puppets doing saying lines, just spouting what the script said. It didn't feel like nothing. There was nothing enthralling about any of those characters.
I don't know
except
about
Mace
that.
Windu.
I don't know, because seeing how the Jedi Council was kind of like hypocritical and all that, those little, stuff in there, I think it had substance. Like I said, with the exception of episode 1 and the prequels, that
Okay.
was very, very, very boring. I'd say episode 2 and episode 3 were, much more excitement happening than the original trilogy.
I don't understand that. How
So
do you say that? Like,
let,
episode
let
three
me
is
let,
only
let me break this down now. Episode 3, we know that joint's full of epicness. But let's go
yeah
start off with episode 2. What
the
happens in
the
there?
worst of the entire series so far. That one and Last Jedi are competing for worst. I just want you to know that. Ian.
I'll tell you right now.
Even though I wouldn't put it at the bottom, I would say Last Jedi is a little bit above Attack of the Clones. But yeah, those two are like back and forth with each other right now.
All right, so let's see what happens in episode 2.
All right.
You get your little starship battles and all that stuff that everybody loves. I don't. I like the Jedi stuff. You get a bounty hunter who is the original incarnation of Boba Fett, the one everyone loves for whatever reason when Boba Fett is trash. And you actually
he had an aura around him. Okay, like he was this mysterious, bounty hunter thing.
Yeah, he had a cool costume. That was it. So they finally got into his origin story and actually made a bounty hunter that was able to take on a Jedi like Obi-Wan and almost kill him. In fact, he thought he did kill him at one point in time. And the fight was 100% logical. What do you do? Keep him away from that lightsaber. Shoot, missiles and whatever it takes. Just blow him to bits before he can use, the force powers. It was a good battle. That's one fight in the movie. There's a lot more. So this movie can't be as bad as people are saying.
There's a lot more. What was another one? The only other one I could think of is the end piece, which was like I told you off podcast, was like it looked just like a rave party, like a bunch of glow sticks being swung around. You can barely see anything. Nothing of substance is in there. So what other battle was it? Like there's the rave set piece, and then there's the Dooku versus Anakin and Obi-Wan fight,
and then there's the Dooku versus Yoda on top of that.
which is
Already has more
those,
lightsaber battles than most of the original trilogy.
okay, but like the quality, I mean the quantity of lightsaber battles do not a good movie make though.
That's true. So the problem with episode 2, we all know, was the Anakin and Padme garbage acting and synchronization, which is pretty much just that one actor that was fucking it up. The dude playing Anakin cannot sell emotion for shit. So it made those scenes terrible. It's supposed to be super emotional, that, oh yeah, the Jedi's breaking his code and this politician's, breaking her rules. But that character playing Anakin could not pull through on the acting, and that's what fucked it all up. But that was just one small section of the movie.
No, that was a good portion of the movie. Like, what else happened in this movie? Like, the beginning was this guy went to that planet. I forgot what it was called. Obi-Wan went to the planet. He got captured by Dooku. They were conversing about stuff for the longest of times. Like, the trade policies was going on. That whole thing was going on. This guy put into plan Palpatine was putting into plan to get himself the emergency powers. So he convinced
everything
Jar
you're saying right now is epic. Everything you're saying right here is epic. And
that's not epic. That's the boring part.
It's pulling the story of what happens next in the original trilogy. Everything you're talking about, how the Jedi Council gets destroyed and everything, that was showing the plot of how it could possibly happen. Like, Jedi on top, how are they going to lose? And that joint started unveiling Palpatine's plan. That's epicness right there.
But that's the part that felt dragged on. Then you also had the romance stuff on, I forgot, I can't think of that, but between Padme and Anakin that was on that sand planet, or that isolated planet. They were there for like that. How did that not feel dragged on?
That was about 10 minutes. It's not as bad as people thought. It's just about 10 minutes.
It's really bad. It was bad.
Because of, like I said, that bad acting by who. You can't blame Natalie Portman. She has to work, across the room with this guy. back and
Well,
forth.
I mean, you can't blame
And
either
if
one
he-
of them. It was mostly the direction of those characters, and they did not do good. 'Cause I've
think
seen
it's-
Hayden Christensen other stuff, and he was fine in it. He can actually emote, whereas like as Anakin, he was not allowed to do so. I guess.
What was this after the movies though? Because he might have gotten better after he seen how bad he did in the prequels. So
There's also the beginning, like the beginning portion of the movie was like when they were tracking that bounty hunter that was after like the assassination stuff on Padme.
that was kind of weak. I give you that. Yeah.
That's almost that's a good portion of the movie. The stuff that you're talking about was the smallest part of the movie. The action pieces. Yes. Like the ending fight scenes and stuff like that. That was what 20 minutes maybe. And then
That's a lot for a Star Wars movie.
the fight between Jango and Obi-Wan was 5 minutes tops maybe. Like I don't know. Like it couldn't have gone more than that.
Man,
I mean, if you want to count when like he found out Obi-Wan was tracking him in the spaceship, and then like try to throw out those bombs and stuff like that.
All that was epicness happening.
That's not epicness. It's things that was happening.
The building of the clone army. You found out where the clones came from. Come on, man. That's all.
And nobody cared about where the clones came from because nobody thought they were damn clones in the original trilogy anyway. They thought they were all individual, soldiers and stuff like that. The clone stuff didn't start until, they got into the extended universe, or like they started this whole, prequel stuff. That's when the clone thing started. Nobody cared about where the hell the clones came from. The originals didn't have clones. They didn't care about that stuff. It was all, every stormtrooper or even Boba Fett was like a different dude. It was, not a clone.
It's set. Man, go back and watch it, man. I'm telling you. You realize the prequels.
I've watched those plenty of times. I've watched those plenty of times each year, and like it's always a drag.
You know what
episode
I think?
One, episode one, you can at least get to the Darth Maul scenes, and those are pretty good. Episode 2 has nothing. Episode 2 is the vanilla, not even vanilla. It's the terrible tasting, like it's like an ice cream you think is vanilla, but it has like salt on it and shit like that. It's not good.
No, that's BS. Because one of the most epic things in Star Wars history happened in that one, and that's when you got to see Yoda for the first time draw a lightsaber, which was even
and fly around the room in like a terrible battle scene. Like I don't like that scene either. I'm sorry.
That was epicness. See, I think what happened is while you were watching episode 2, you went and you made a sandwich doing all the epicness that was happening.
No, I've seen that.
And then saw the Anakin and Padme bullshit happening.
I've seen these movies a ton of. I've seen it a ton of times, and like I've watched that scene. I'm like, man, okay, yep, here it is. This fool not listening gets his arm cut off for being an idiot. Obi-Wan gets overwhelmed by the old man with the pimp cane saber, and then Yoda comes out. That's the only thing about episode 2. That is, you got the pimp cane saber Dooku coming out. And then you got episode 3, which is the one that barely passes. It's good. It's good.
I will give you props for that description. The pimp cane saber. All right.
I mean, we always called it that. You, me, and LeBeau was always calling it the pimp cane saber from when we originally watched that movie. But episode 2 was nothing. The dialogue was terrible. The set pieces were okay at best. I wouldn't say they were epic. I don't think there's any one action set piece that I would say it's epic. And I think it's mostly due to the fact that the characters don't draw you in to it. You don't care about any of the characters or the positions they're in. Whereas in the original trilogies, you do care about all the characters.
I'm going to break the glass for you right now. Or break the glass for this whole scenario. The reason why everyone says a prequel suck is because they keep comparing it to the originals. More so the bad guy of Darth Vader being in the originals.
Okay.
You can't compare something to the most epic bad guy probably there is to...
Yes, you can.
If they keep doing that, then it's always something's going to fall short. And that's what it is.
But that's what we do.
If you watch the prequels by itself without comparing it to the original trilogy, then you will appreciate the prequels a lot more.
But it makes even less sense then if you don't include the original trilogy or compare it or anything like that, because it's based off of the original trilogy. Like it's going off of that story to make it what it is. So if you don't do that, it doesn't make sense. And people are going to do that regardless. Like whoever the next big villain is for the MCU, they're going to compare it to Thanos. That's just what people do. Like they're gonna be like, oh, here comes the next villain. Oh, it's blah blah blah. Oh, he's not as good as Thanos. Like Thanos would have done this, or like it felt much more epic with Thanos. Like that's what people do. And you can't take Vader out of the equation for the original trilogy because he was the villain for it. He was a big component of that original trilogy. So you have to include him. And maybe that's what the prequels were missing. There was no main big villain other than maybe Palpatine, but we knew he was going to survive. Like there was nobody else. Like Dooku, he wasn't strong enough.
All right, so we'll roll right by because this debate will go on forever. If we could talk about episode 2, we'll roll right past that and go to episode 3.
Okay.
Pure epicness.
No, what do you mean pure epicness?
Pure epicness. Introduction of Grievous, a good bad guy.
Actually, the introduction of Grievous was actually in the Clone Wars, and they did it much better there. I think you were even the one that told me that.
That's true.
You were disappointed with how they played him out in episode 3 because he got beat like a chump. Whereas in the cartoons, he was killing Jedis and like taking sabers.
I was disappointed with how he got murked. It made it look like Obi-Wan didn't like even struggle. That I didn't like.
Nah, Obi-Wan was cracking jokes. He's quipping all over the place in the middle of that fight scene. He didn't care nothing about that.
But it was still, up until that part, it was still a good character that was introduced, even though he wasn't through the whole thing.
I mean, my first viewing of Grievous was that movie. I had no idea of the cartoon things until after the movie, and you told me about it. So watching him, he just seemed like he was a chump, like boss character, like put in place there, like not even a mid boss. He was just like a lowly dude that just got beat up because like Obi-Wan didn't take him seriously at all. Man was cracking jokes and then just shot him with a blaster and was like done.
And then we roll into the epicness of.
Keep saying that word. I don't think you know what that means. Like.
Execute Order 66.
That's it. That is it.
that is not it. That is
it. That is the only, the last 30 minutes of that movie is what makes that movie. That's it.
Jedi's getting blasted by
There's nothing
armies
else.
at their back.
I agree.
Fantastic.
That's it. But that's like the last 30 minutes. Before that 30 minutes, what else in that movie is epicness?
Before that 30 minutes? How about the battle between Windu and Palpatine?
That's also in the last 30 minutes, though. That's when after he's already ordered execute. I mean, no, it's like within the.
It's right before.
Because right before.
It's right before.
That's
when
that's what
Sam Jackson goes ahead and gives his epic scream that he does in almost every one of his movies.
That's where
Only Jedi gets his arm chopped off and then yells out loud as hell.
The last 30 minutes are just like straight, Palpatine memeing all over the place. It's like unlimited power, and like that's just straight. He does that. That actor was just going for the memes. He did not care at all. Right there, man was laughing it up. That's why people got so excited when they heard the laugh for episode 9 because they know somebody with life is gonna, come back into this picture, and he was the only thing that saved that movie. You got that. You got Anakin murdering the younglings. Always a good time.
Oh. Well, yeah, that when the little kid's like, that's a Skywalker. They're killing everyone. What are we gonna do? And he frigate just lights up his lightsaber. The kid fucking jumps back. Come on.
Yeah, that's all in the last 30 minutes. Before that, there's nothing else.
But the epicness is great,
man.
It's great and it's continuous. Like I said, the only thing that ruined the prequels, most of the prequels, was that actor's bad acting.
No, the thing that ruined the prequels is storytelling being all over the place. No enthralling characters. Nobody you could actually get behind or connect with that made you feel like you cared for these characters or anything about it. And because of that, the set pieces were kind of like the action pieces were kind of like nothing. You didn't really care except for maybe, like I said, Darth Maul versus, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan.
That's
maybe
one
for some
movie.
people, Yoda and Dooku. I guess for some people, for me, it was kind
that's
of
in the
like
second movie. Yeah, and the third
um,
movie had
Anakin
Yoda.
versus Obi-Wan, which was a really good fight, even though they start like twirling their
I
lightsabers around, which
Yeah,
kind of always,
I did not like that. I
yeah,
like
that
the
kind of always,
music that was going on, and I like the other
yeah,
fight that they kept on cutting back to, which was Yoda versus
versus the
Sidious.
Emperor.
Yes,
Yeah, but
that was
that wasn't
awesome.
epic. That was just like funny to me.
Are you
Like,
are you
man's
kidding me?
laughing it
Just
up, yucking it up, talking about the Jedi's are done, and he's just laughing. That's the only part that was like good. Oh yeah, he was good laughing. I don't know what epic was about it. It
are
was
you kidding me?
entertaining. It was entertaining, but I don't say it was epic.
In what Star Wars universe have you ever seen someone take up like a whole stadium and start chucking it like freaking softballs at another? What other Star Wars movie has done that?
Okay, fine. Even if you include that one, fine. That's it. But
Yep.
those are all like
Come
pieces
on.
that happen at the end of those movies. Like you're still like an hour and a half of movie before that feels really drawn on and stuff like that. Whereas in the original trilogy,
That's every
nothing.
Star
Even though
Wars movie.
no,
Everything's
no,
dragged on,
not
and you've
every,
seen all
not
this
all of
stuff
them.
that you don't really care too much about, and then at the end,
The original
it
Star
picks
Wars,
up.
the first movie made you care about like Luke and Han within like the first 30 minutes of the movie, and even Obi-Wan. So much so that they killed Obi-Wan the first one, and people were sad about it because they're like, "Oh, hey, we thought this guy was gonna be around or something like that. Like he actually died." And even though the fight, the fight scene between between Obi-Wan and Vader wasn't as like epic. There wasn't like I won't say like wasn't as epic, but it wasn't as dramatic with all the lightsabers spinning and stuff like that. It did feel like they had an aura of gravitas because there was an importance of it. Like it meant something for these characters, especially for Luke from his perspective.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. What was really missing and why the prequels have it. There wasn't epic music to that fight you just described. There was epic music in the prequels to every good fight. Tab man, epic music does it, bro.
I don't know.
Epic music
I know the
for
first,
epic
first and the
scenes
third. I don't know about the
is a
second
win.
one. The first and the third had really good music. Duel of the Fates is always the quintessential Star Wars music that people play whenever you do a lightsaber battle now. Episode 3, the Battle of Mustafar had a really good a track as well. I don't know what it was for episode 2. Neither in that Dooku, Obi-Wan, and Anakin battle or the Yoda Dooku battle was there any music that I can remember that was epic sounding at all.
Or the Jango Fett Obi-Wan battle.
I don't even know what that was either.
See a bounty hunter actually take it to a Jedi and beat the shit out of him.
He didn't beat the shit out of him. He like escaped, which is what he was trying to do. He just escaped, and then he got his head chopped off by Mace Windu.
By who? By
Mace Windu.
Possibly the best lightsaber wielding Jedi. Mace
Possibly,
Windu.
yeah.
Yeah. So how did he go? That happened in episode 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So storyline is all right. That's it. Storyline's all right.
Nah,
Everything's
storyline is
there.
all right. Things are happening, but the storyline is not all right.
But going back to the question, though. So we know, with all that said and done, the newest trilogy happening right now is the big question. What happens if episode 9 sucks? Does that kill Star Wars?
No, it doesn't, because the prequels didn't kill Star Wars, and those were worst. I mean, Force Awakens, despite the whole joke about it being copy and paste, I think is an all right movie. I think it's an enjoyable, good movie. Last Jedi, we talked about it on our review of it. It was kind of I think it's watchable for the most part. You could watch it. Is it enjoyable? Is it like, that's the whole thing. Like, I don't think it's enjoyable. I don't think it was like a good Star Wars movie. I think it was just an action movie kind of a thing where like they had these dumb plot points to make it up or make it go forward and stuff like that. So it's watchable, but it's not enjoyable as a Star Wars movie.
Did a real big sin of destroying the lore of the movies that came before. And
Prequels were doing that too, though. People were upset about midichlorians, people were upset about a lot of things.
Those
from
are
the
small
prequels
things,
as well.
though. It didn't
wasn't.
kill
It was,
things off. It didn't.
People
kill
hated the
things
prequels for the longest time before now they kind of like accepting them as like, oh, okay, well, whatever. They weren't as bad, kind of a thing.
The midichlorians crap in the prequel is nothing compared to saying, oh, it doesn't matter how hard you train, the Force is going to balance it out by making your polar opposite as strong as you, which makes training useless. That is killing the entire franchise. Like, that's worse than that midichlorian bullcrap.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I'm not defending the new trilogy. I was defending the original one. I mean, I think this new trilogy will end up being fine. This depending on how Rise of the Skywalker plays out, it could fall in line with how Star Wars movies just generally are. Like I said, even the original trilogy, I'm not that big of a fan of Jedi, Return of the Jedi. Like I despite it having, fight scenes and stuff like that, it was like, the Battle of Endor, like the Ewoks don't do it for me. I'm sorry, they don't. Like,
don't do it for me either.
Some people like them. I don't do it. That thing kills the movie for me. I don't like how that's happened. They got the stormtroopers getting curb stomped by stones and rocks and things throwing twigs at them. I'm like, come on, man. I know these guys don't shoot well, but like, give them something here. Like,
I mean, they're wearing armor for goodness sakes. It should.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So Jedi for that reason was kind of like, iffy for me, but it was still better than anything in the prequels. I will say that.
Not anything.
I don't know. I don't know, because like that whole thing of like how the original trilogy draws on, like the story draws on, it feels more slower paced. I don't see it because it feels like there's always stuff happening. Even like in the new ones, stuff was happening. Like Return of the Jedi, stuff was happening. It wasn't good stuff, but things were happening. Like, and seeing how Rise of the Skywalker plays out, we're gonna see if it actually like balances out that trilogy.
Can J.J. Abrams
despite that, I think it'll be
damage done by Rian Johnson?
if we were talking about the legacy of Star Wars, like after this thing is done and like the whole Skywalker storyline and stuff like that, I think it'll be fine. Like, I don't think it's gonna. If the prequels didn't hurt it, and Jar Jar didn't hurt it, and anything else that happened in that damn prequel trilogy didn't hurt it, nothing in this one is gonna hurt it either. I think at this point there are more bad Star Wars movies than are good ones, but I think it'll still be something people can still watch and maybe get some enjoyment from. I'm not even sure, but I know I don't know.
I think it's a coin toss. I think when I flip this coin, it lands right on the edge because after how Force Awakens set up things that made people interested, even though they said, okay, it's a carbon copy, whatever, it still made people interested in, oh man, who's this new bad guy? Who's this Snoke? Hey, who's Rey's parents? Why is she so strong? And then the Last Jedi to just blow up the thing that people were interested in the most, just blow it all to hell.
And now they have to backtrack that in Episode 9 anyway, because they, I think J.J. Abrams said that he might not take all those, those storylines or the stuff that happened in Episode 8 as like
he can't
as gospel.
He would have to make some of that shit like a freaking Force dream or something. You can't continue the storyline. Given the source of given the source, of where the information came from, they could just write it as that. Like Kylo Ren was just lying to Rey. Like, I think that's exactly what they're gonna do.
But we'll see with that one. Still. So you're still holding true to this fact, your original point of
that the original trilogies are more dragged out than the prequels.
Absolutely wrong. I don't see how you could even justify that. Nothing you said today to me has changed that at all. Like, everything you're saying that was epic happened in the last 30 minutes of each of those movies, and before that there was nothing that happens that was of any excitement.
While you say this, I want you to picture Palpatine crackling and he's putting freaking 10,000 thunderstorms on Yoda's freaking wiggling arms.
Again, that happens at the end of Episode 3, though.
All that epicness that you're looking past.
No. No, 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 no. Oh man. All right. Let's move on before this becomes like a Star Wars pop. We can get into this every week then. Like there's no every time you do a
we
podcast,
never have an
get into
agreement.
Star Wars, man.
Yeah, on this topic we never have an agreement either. It always ends the same.
Let's go on to actually to something of this year. A review of Jessica Jones' final season.
Oh,
Season 3. Short review because the whole crew isn't here, so we'll do kind of a shortish review of it. So you watched all the episodes of the last season, right, Minister?
I watched every episode of the last season.
All right. So what do you think? What's your impression of the final season of Jessica Jones and the final season of all the Marvel Netflix shows?
I think it's good. I think it's better than season 2, but still falls short of season 1.
Okay. Well, why do you believe that then?
This one, it was the Trish tangent and the Malcolm tangent. Like, it kept on going back and forth with these guys, and I really didn't care that much about those characters as I did about, what was going on with Jessica Jones and the new bad guy, whatever his name is, Salinger.
Yeah.
It was like, if they would eliminated some of those scenes and focused more on the Salinger's storyline, or even Jessica Jones's, issues or whatever, or even Horgoth's, that would have been fine. But those other two characters, they kept on pushing back to them and trying to show that these guys are important, and I'm just not buying it. So it kind of felt like some wasted time. Like, hey, let's get back to the story that I care about. Let's get the camera off these guys. That's how I felt watching season 3.
I don't know. I kind of go like against that because the Trish thing had to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Trish thing, I think it was needed because like I told Mez last week, this was kind of a culmination story for this. So you needed to include Trish, and she was like kind of like pivotal in it in a sense because, unknowingly she became a part of Salinger's plans against Jessica. Because if she didn't have those people, like Salinger would have nothing, against her really. Like
I think they could have done that with less scenes or even less episodes about it. They could have still knocked the nail on the head that Trish went the wrong direction. Spoiler alert for everybody.
Oh yeah, we're spoiling this stuff. So yeah, if you haven't watched it yet, you might want to skip ahead a couple minutes.
But yeah, it's to put her in that direction. Like we all kind of foreshadowed that there's a possibility that she might, go rogue. But it still felt like they put too much of those other episodes on it, or things happening with her. Like I said, with her and Malcolm, it just didn't feel like a good fit. It felt like I had to watch through this filler to get back to the show. Type of deal.
The Malcolm stuff was, I would say the Malcolm stuff is a little bit more on that, a little bit more weirder than Trish stuff, because Malcolm was at that point doing his own thing. So whenever they would cut back to Malcolm, it would be like he's a completely different thing until he came back into the fold, like in the later half of the season. In the beginning, he was just doing his own thing. He had his own life again, until Jessica brought him back. Brought him back into it by babysitting his Eric's sister, and like then his whole split from Jerry. But like you had to have talk about him a bit too,
But not that much, because look how they did. When you look in season 1, it's primarily about Jessica Jones trying to figure out how to beat a very terrifying bad guy. But look how they fit in Nuke into the picture. Like he didn't have that much scenes in the show, but yet when he turned to a bad guy, he was still a prominent bad guy for that short amount of time. So they really didn't need to put that much focus on these other guys. That
Malcolm was like, he was there from the beginning as well. He was a friend of Jessica. Like it's all these things that ties her to, not wanting to be alone and trying to be a hero, or trying to be a hero, and like trying to get to that role. these are the things. And she's watching, like, knowing that Malcolm is working for Horgath. And then, like, when Eric meets him and he's like, yeah, this guy's giving me a headache. It's like letting her know that, like, all my friends, like, they're going down this bad path that maybe I was once at, and now she's starting to care. So, like, maybe that's why she included him in, to try to bring him back into the fold so that he's not getting worse. Because I think Eric said he was like a 3 or something like that out of 10. When she said, like, she asked him, she's like, okay, he's still, like, savable. Like, he's still worth saving. So that's why she went out of her way to do that. Try to bring him back into it. Trish, like I said, you had to kind of, like, escalate that thing, because I knew, from the ending of second season, I was like, they have to make her the bad guy then. It has to go that route because of all these insecurities that she has. All these insecurities about how Jessica is her friend, and, like, she doesn't feel strong enough. And, like, even from the first season when they showed her, like, training in Krav Maga and doing all this stuff like that, wanted to be as strong and, like, challenging
she wants
Jessica.
To be Jessica Jones, pretty much.
Yeah, she wanted that. She wants that power. That. And in a sense, she kind of feels the same way that Salinger feels. Like, you didn't deserve this. You didn't earn it. And, like, she's, like, saying, like, I chose this. I chose to be a hero and stuff like that. And it just drives her mad every time, because still she's not as strong as Jessica either way. Like, there was a thing where I think Jessica just one punched her and she's like, you're done. Like, like, you're still not as strong as me despite all your training, despite your super ability, whatever. I can just backhand you and you're done.
Man.
And that just drove her insane, not being as strong as her, not being as powerful as her, and not being able to be the hero that she is. She didn't have that she thought she was the moral compass, but her moral compass was, like, whacked and all over the place, because she ended up killing people, like killing bad guys, because of how it affected the world, and Jessica was like, well, you still can't do that. Even if you have this power, it's not within you to do that and stuff like that. So
I'll tell you,
I think you needed her story in there for that reason.
I think the way it felt to me was they probably needed one more season, and the next season would have been Trish completely transforming into the new villain. Because I think because they knew that this was going to be a cancellation season, they just put everything into it.
It didn't feel that way. It felt like it was exactly the story it needed to be for this season, because where else could you have gone? Like, what would you have Trish doing then in this season, if not going down this road?
Trying to bumble around, trying to be a hero, and trying to and Jessica trying to freaking put her on that path to say, hey, take it slower and figure it out. And then by the end, we could have had that wouldn't have made any sense, because Trish wouldn't have listened to that. Like, Trish never listened to that. Like, every time Jessica told her before in other seasons, like, don't get involved, don't do something, Trish did it anyway. When in the first season, she told her, hey, don't call out Kilgrave. Like, don't call him out. Like, and she did it anyway. Like, that's why it made sense for her this season to do this, because she was always so headstrong of, like, I'm going to rush in and do it. Like, even if Jessica told her, like, don't do it, like, I got it, Trish would still do it anyway. So did you think
it wouldn't have made sense for
Trish to season 1?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Absolutely not. Kilgrave was still way better as a villain, even more so than Salinger. But what I'm saying is that this season was still really, really good, because like it was one of the only ones that I feel like, and again, it had the advantage of possibly knowing it was going to get canceled, of like actually culminating the arc for Jessica of like this transformation where season 1 she was kind of like disenfranchised with being a hero. She didn't want none of it. She's like, don't call me that. I'm not that person. Season 2 kind of was like a little page turner for her, where she tried, especially with the inclusion of her mother, being this kind of like main bad guy. And she's like, maybe if I can change this person, I can actually be a hero and stuff. I can change myself. And then season 3 was her actually trying with the help of like Eric and like her friends, seeing how Trish was and Malcolm was, seeing all these people around her who were in a sense taking cues from her. Trish trying to be the hero and like putting down bad guys. Malcolm, walking the gray line with Horgath, and then Eric, who has the ability to be a hero but not doing so, was kind of like reflections of her, like her
Yeah.
how she was, and now she's like, I gotta change this. I gotta like change this and change myself in a sense, and like she's actually trying now to be the hero and to be a good guy for everybody. So I liked how that story ended for her, like how it culminated and stuff. So
I did like the way it was concluded, though.
Yeah.
It was a complete conclusion. Like, that is a season finale for sure. They wrapped it up.
And I do like that all of her villains, I mean, maybe despite her mom, who was like, you know, who can go toe to toe with her. But if you don't really like maybe include her mom, I don't know, you could. But all of her villains were like, none of them were about like, you know, trying to match her strength. They were all trying to like mess with her mind, or like mess. I mean, Kilgrave could actually physically mess with you with his voice, but like Salinger was like he felt like the Zemo, like the Civil War, like
yes,
just like putting stuff into motion and like watching it play out. Was not trying to go toe to toe with her, even though he wanted to, which was funny.
Yeah,
He's like, challenge me without using your powers, and it's like, why would I? Like, why would I? It's stupid. Like why would I challenge you without my powers? Like when they were doing the wrestling match.
Yeah,
it's just
that was funny. Like,
but yeah, I do like his character too. That villain, because it's another guy that's kind of like I said. He plays off of, not plays off, but like it's kind of like Trish equal, where he's insecure about all these superpowered people being in the world, because in his eyes they didn't earn what they got, whereas he's over there, you know, trying to do all these things and like got all these degrees and training and all stuff like that, and he's not even a fifth of what they have. So
for all the effort, she's
Yeah.
superpower, can't beat her. The end.
he was good for that. But like, yeah, he was not better than Kilgrave. Like as far as planning and things happening and stuff like that, it was kind of just like, okay.
I still think Kilgrave is the best bad guy of all time.
Yeah, he was. I like that they still did leave it open for it. Like I know she was busted, she was on her way to Mexico, but then kind of like changed her mind when Kilgrave showed up again. Was like, that's right. Like
still in the brains.
Still in the brain. Is like, give up. Like it's somebody else's problem now. And she's like, turns around. I thought they should have left it at that, like her turning around and kind of like thinking about it still. But then they showed her walking.
Yeah, it should have showed us just like in between which decision she could go.
Yeah, like leave it at that. Like which way does she go? Does she give up or does she actually go on to do it? But I guess you could see it as like, no, she's gonna embrace her hero character even more and walks back to New York to do the thing. But
yeah, she's gonna go hang out with Malcolm.
Kind of feel like that gave like, all the previous scenes, like, it kind of like dilutes all that now, because she's like saying goodbye to everybody and like giving Malcolm the keys and like. So it's like, what was the point of all that then if you're going to just walk it back? But whatever. I did like the Luke Cage cameo as well. I was like, oh, yes.
So you want to know what was happening with him? At least the man is very aware that he can become the bad guy.
Oh, yes.
I do
wish they come back. I wish Luke Cage comes back. I like all those shows. Man. I mean, Iron Fist was kind of a struggle, but like those Marvel Netflix shows, I really do like them and how they blend off each other and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So I hope it does come back in some format, whether it's, a Heroes for Hire thing, whether it's Luke Cage season 3, just to wrap up that storyline. Daredevil, I would like to come back, but for all intents and purposes, its storyline did get wrapped up.
Yeah, it ended.
Despite the teaser of Bullseye possibly coming back, but it was the Kingpin versus Daredevil story arc. So, but if it comes back, I won't complain either.
I always thought, like, what if Big Daddy, money bucks, Disney Marvel, just pays for those shows and actually
they could, but the thing is the license
put them in.
The thing is the license is with Netflix right now,
and they don't want to share it, but they could buy it. They
could
buy it all. They could buy it all outright. They could buy the directors. They could buy the producers. They could buy it.
I mean, they could, outright. But I think the distribution license is still with Netflix for I think 2 years or another year and a half or something like that. So anything that they'd make would have to be released through Netflix, but Netflix canceled the shows. So
yeah,
they just don't want to have anything to do with it until that time. So that sucks, but hopefully they do bring them back. I don't know what's going to happen in a year and a half from now when those shows are up in the open because, like I said, Disney might want to have Hulu be its adult thing. It could be like the Hulu Marvel shows because, like I said, they do have the Runaways on there, and Runaways is not canceled despite it not being on the same quality as the Marvel Netflix shows. It's an okay, decent show, but it's on there. It didn't get canceled, so that lets me know that Marvel is still willing to play ball with some of these other distributors. But again, like it owns part of Hulu, so who knows? But I would not complain if it's like if Hulu becomes like it's the adult Marvel place. Like this is where we have like our R-rated kind of shows. It's not gonna be on Disney Plus because Disney Plus is for kiddos, right? We'll have the Loki show and those other shows, the MCU shows, which are nice and funny and stuff like that and lighthearted. But the more gritty stuff will be on the Hulu ones. I'm not gonna complain about that at all. But we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully, all good stuff in the future. But let's get into the week's Minister. What do you got for yours?
What did I see? I saw something fairly recent that I can't remember. Oh, I saw Triple Threat.
Triple Threat?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's made by. Well, it has Michael Jai White. It has a ton of like all the best martial artists in the world in one movie. It has Michael Jai White, Scott Adkins, the dude from, was it Ong Bak or something like that? The Muay Thai dude, short guy that does the double knees. It has another guy, I think, from The Raid.
What's his name? Protector, right? Tony Jaa?
Yes.
The guy? Okay.
And
that
then
the guy
it has,
from The Raid too?
Yeah. So it has, like I said, like all the best martial artists in the world in one movie. And the movie turned out to be fairly decent. It's better than average. Because it's not big budget, but
pure action stuff. That's it.
Oh yeah. It's
gritty fighting.
Gritty fighting. Good. Michael Jai White is an actual bad guy in there, as is Scott Adkins. So it's not bad.
Okay.
The action is good as expected. The special effects actually looks pretty decent. Like people are getting shot up, and you see them, like the bullets just penetrating them and just putting them down and stuff. So I thought it was gonna be like it's gonna look bootleg because since it's not a mainstream production. I was like expecting some real bad effects, but no, it turned out to be pretty good. So cool. I'd probably give it a solid. For what it is, I'll give it a. Damn, I guess I'll go high end. I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
Yeah.
All right. Let me look at I'll take Mez's place here and look at the Rotten Tomatoes score for you, E.
Oh, great.
Seems like Rotten Tomatoes and yourself are almost on the same page. It has a 67%. So that's up there with close to a 7 out of 10. So
no, I think someone did a typo and they typed in the wrong number that they meant.
They meant 6%.
They meant 4% or something like that.
Well, it's sitting on 67%. So for the most part, it's right where almost close to where you had it at. So I guess it's not that bad of a movie. I'm telling you, man, the merge between you and Rotten Tomatoes each week is coming closer and closer.
That would give the perfect review when Rotten Tomatoes actually agrees with it.
Yep.
Anyways, but yeah, that's a pretty decent movie. And I think that'd be that for my week.
Oh, yeah? Okay. For myself, I've watched a couple of new shows. One is one that I watched a couple of weeks ago. I hadn't had a chance to talk about it yet. But it's an Amazon Prime original show. It's called Good Omens.
Good Omens?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Good Omens, it actually stars that old boy too, David Tennant, the guy that
I know
played Kilgrave.
I know what that is now. That's so
it's like
an angel and a demon trying to stop the apocalypse.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think Michael Sheen is the demon. I mean the angel, and David Tennant plays Crowley, the demon in this picture. It also has like John Hamm in there and some other pretty good actors and stuff. Not a bad show. I liked it. The chemistry between the two guys is what really like pushed the show forward. Like they actually have good chemistry together, and like them being friends, and like this balance of like, especially with the angel where he knows he's kind of colluding with the demon to do some stuff, and like So he's like, he's kind of conflicted with that in a sense. It's only like, I think it's like 6 episodes, so it's not like extremely long series, but it's really good. I enjoyed it. It's good because like despite like the two extremes that they call it work, but like their offices, are going for. Like one is like, oh, we have to be things really, really bad, and heaven is kind of like, yeah, things have to be either really good or they're working towards the apocalypse as well. Like heaven is, because it allows them to go to war with evil and extinguish it. And both parties are kind of like grayish, I would say, because like the demon plays at it good because he wants to stop the apocalypse, and the angel does as well, because like he doesn't want to extinguish all the people in the process of killing, the demons. Like he doesn't want all of humanity to die just because heaven wants to go to war with with the devil and the bad guys and stuff like that. And these two are trying to preserve Earth pretty much by stopping the Antichrist, which turned out to be like it was like a little kid and everything like that, but because of course he's gonna be a kid. Pretty good series though, not bad. I like how they try to like establish this whole moral grayish area of like, we don't have to be overly good and we don't have to be overly bad. There's like a middle ground area, and that's where like humanity lies, kind of a thing. And it doesn't need to suffer to it doesn't need to suffer for that, for a great war that doesn't need to happen, kind of a thing.
How many episodes is it?
Like I said, 6 episodes. Okay. It's not entirely long. So on that same trip, I started watching this TV show, Lucifer. It was a Fox show. Funny enough, both things were kind of based off of Neil Gaiman, like the guy I think he wrote Sandman that Kitty likes. He was kind of like he created these universes and stuff like that. So I guess he's really into that whole spiritual thing, or like that. Yeah. So Lucifer it's another show that, like those cop buddy shows that like they were doling out throughout the mid 2000s, like how Castle was, and
I think I actually seen Bones. A couple of episodes from that show.
Yeah, so it's like that. Like Lucifer, like left hell because he got tired of doing the same routine of like punishing bad guys and torturing them and stuff like that, and he wanted to go to Earth and like kind of like live it up and take a vacation and stuff like that. Yeah. So he gets dragged into like this thing with a cop because like somebody he knew that was like he considered like innocent or considered like okay got killed, so he wanted to find out who the killer was and punish them. And then like he starts getting a kick off of that, and he starts like going with this detective to like punish bad guys and everything like that. So that part of it is kind of like it's normal stuff, like it's like normal buddy cop stuff and everything like that. Mm-hmm. What I find interesting about this whole thing is how it kind of like shines a new light on, like, I'm not overly religious or anything like that. Like I know the brushstrokes of the Bible and religion and stuff like that, but I like how it paints kind of a different light for the devil, because everybody's like always saying like, they always, whenever because he admits he's a devil. He's not hiding it. He's not like a secret identity to him. He always tells people like, I'm the devil. My name is Lucifer Morningstar. I can't get any, other way about it. He's not trying to hide it. And he always tells the cop that. And, everybody's always like, oh, the devil's evil, right? Like he's your evil person and everything like that. And he gets really like offended by that. He's like, I am not evil. He's like, I punish bad guys. Like that's my job. He's like, I don't punish innocent people. I don't kill innocent people for fun. Like my job is to punish bad guys. Like the people who come to me are the people who did the worst and the worst on this earth. And I did not influence you in any way. Any choices you're making on earth is your own free will. He's like, that's what I'm about. He's like, I'm about free will. Like I'm not influencing you to do anything. So don't blame me for your atrocities. He's like God sent me to hell. Like, cause the story was like God sent him to hell to be his guy to punish bad guys. But because of that, he's been vilified and he's been like, ostracized and stuff like that. People hate him. And he's like, I didn't ask for that. Like, I didn't choose that. I was an angel and I got banished to hell to be this punisher of bad guys. And it's like, but something I didn't choose, So he has that kind of like, issue with God and everything like that because like, God threw him out of heaven for that reason.
So you like the religious aspect of it?
Yeah, I actually do like the religious aspect of it, where it's like kind of like showing a different side of it, saying like, yeah, it's kind of true. Like, that he didn't ask to do that. I mean, who knows any of that stuff really, but I like how the show is portraying it, where it's like, he's saying like, I'm not a bad guy per se. my whole shtick from the beginning was about having free will and giving humanity free will and letting you guys do what you want to do, kind of a thing. Like, I'm not asking you to worship me. I'm not asking you to do anything. Just live your life. Now, if you're an evil fucking asshole, well, then you're going to come to me. I'm going to punish you, and I'm going to enjoy doing so. That's why he will wholeheartedly admit that. He's like, I do enjoy punishing bad guys because they're bad. And, like, I don't want them to, like, be around anymore. So that part is pretty interesting. Yeah, that's one of those things where, like, one of those shows where you're kind of like, okay, the cop stuff is happening. Like you kind of saying earlier, like, I don't want to hear about the cop stuff. Like, I want to hear more about this whole Lucifer and the religious thing and dive deep into that whole storyline. So,
but is it mostly focused on the cop stuff, or is it mostly focused on the religious stuff, or is it half and half?
The first season was primarily about the cop stuff. Then it start like towards the end of the season, because it's like a regular TV show. So you know how network TV shows are. It's not a Netflix show, so it's not like 13 or 8 or 10 episodes. It's like actually like 18 to 20 episodes. So you know how it is. Like the first half of it is like the bad guy of the week kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
And then later on, it starts like towards the end of the season, it starts actually like diving more into like the religious things and that kind of stuff. It starts picking up. I'm on to the second season now, the beginning of it, and it's pretty all right now because like every episode he always like to tell people that stuff, like I'm not a bad guy and everything. Sometimes he would get hit with that. But yeah, it's not bad, pretty good. Oh, it also has the inclusion of our boy DB Woodside in there. So
I think I did see. Yes, I remember seeing it because I think I watched a couple episodes. I did see that.
He plays his brother, and I was like, oh, hey, old DB Woodside, still working. That's good, man.
Still that name, man.
That name. He did not change it. It's still DB Woodside. No periods in between the names, so that's just his name, DB Woodside.
Where are these people?
Yeah, he plays his brother.
Names?
But yeah, that's my week, and I guess that'll do it for us this week on the podcast. I'd like to thank Minister for showing up, and actually like setting forth the topics for this week, which was Star Wars.
It just ended up being the topic.
Man was edging me. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be the topics for this week. We're gonna talk about this. Man kept talking about Star Wars, pushing it until he said the one egregious thing, and I was like, all right, that's enough. It's wipe the slate clean of everything else. We're talking about Star Wars again. But yeah, I've been BitW Xan. This has been the Ichiban Nonsense podcast, where we don't say goodbye forever. We say goodbye for now.